Hey there, coming to you from not my normal location. Actually, my normal location is in the other room, but my daughter is asleep right now, and I wanted to get this update out the door while round 2 is still running. Quick admin notes. Audio for this video was recorded on my computer instead of my traditional microphone, so the quality of the audio is going to be slightly less than average, and I apologize for that in advance. Oh, and another quick admin note. You'll notice that I talk about the scores from the first round, and if you're voting in the second round, you'll notice a lot of them say 0 to 2, or 1 to 2, or 1 to 1, and more than 2 people had to have voted for this. Well, yeah, the vote counter had been turned off, and so I had to go in to the admin panel, and good news is the admin panel did record those votes, but if you're wondering why some songs advanced, even though they theoretically lost when you look at the numbers, well, that's why. The problem has been fixed in the future voting rounds, but for those of you wondering, that's exactly what's going on. With all that being said, I hope you enjoy this. Again, I did have to kind of rush to get this out the door. I know it's not my normal level of production quality, and so I hope you still do give it a watch because I think some of these results are really interesting, and I did put in quite a bit of effort to get this whole ball rolling. So, stick around, watch it, enjoy it, and I'll talk to you again soon. And starting off on the left-hand side of the bracket, number 1 versus number 16, Fly Away versus That's the Magic. We see Fly Away easily advancing beyond That's the Magic. And is that really a surprise with a song with such a prestigious pedigree as Fly Away? I think not. Again, we also have another prestigious pedigree song, but that doesn't sound right for the Fallen King. Let's just say badass song. Yeah, that sounds better. And it's easily badassing itself way past the competition in trouble and advancing where it'll face the Fly Away. Could it be an upset? Well, that remains to be seen. Your vote matters. Voting's still active, so see the link in the description below. Moving on to number 5, Somewhere in the Night versus number 12, Please Come Home. Again, we see Somewhere in the Night trounce Please Come Home and easily advance where it will face off against Eastern Wind in our first upset, which was 10th seeded and beat out the number 7th seeded Aha. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, Aha had really not been on my radar as much as Eastern Wind, so perhaps there's something to be said about the fact that, this song is more known than Aha, even though these rankings are theoretically based on video views, based on LostwaveCharts.com, but Eastern Wind, I feel, has more of a, name you could recognize from home, and so maybe that's one of the reasons why it's advancing, going up against Somewhere in the Night, which will give it very strict competition. Moving on, we will look at the bottom half of the left of this bracket, where we saw our first very close nail biter. See You Dancing versus Guinea Pig. And See You Dancing managed to just squeak it out. But this was a very close race, and See You Dancing will have very tough competition when it goes up against Wait Forever, which easily beat out Stay By My Side. Could we see an upset in this number 8 seed versus facing off against this number 6 seed in the second round of the tournament? It's anybody's guess, and I feel like it will probably be a close match. Moving on to H-Bomb versus Let's Get Up, we have again another fairly close matchup and one that almost wound up becoming a tie. And H-Bomb just barely beat out Let's Get Up, and it'll move on to face the number 2 seed, Your Eyes. And, well, that's going to be a hell of a matchup and one I'm definitely going to be keeping my eyes on. Moving on to the right-hand side of the bracket, we have CIA versus Rubia. CIA definitely easily trounced Waco Family. And CIA is just such a unique and memorable song that I don't think it's going to surprise many people that it's going to be facing off against Rubia in the second round of this tournament. Now, Rubia, again, was another close one where it beat out Barney Lo-Fi, which I also will note that I mispronounced in my first video on this. Rubia versus Barney Lo-Fi, like I call it here, was again a squeaker of a competition. I also want to note that in my original video I did call Barney Lo-Fi HRT Nahava, where it's actually pronounced HRT Nayava, and I don't think that made a difference here. It is interesting to see that this was a lot closer than many had thought it was going to be. And moving on, we have again a fairly easy win by Poor Christmas, taking out Just Make It Louder, in going up against a competition that I was, well, not sure how this one was going to play out. This one was a tie, a literal tie. And the tie break in this case goes to the team with the higher seed, that is the lower number. I know it's a little bit confusing, but in this case, Trip to Rio was seeded number 7th, and again was seeded number 10th. So, this tie went to Trip to Rio, and a tie is just the reason why, again, I'll reiterate, you want to be voting. And if you didn't submit predictions, don't worry, you can still vote. Just click the link in the description below. Moving on, we have a easy win by My Pretty Doll, going up against another easy win for Give and Forget. Both these songs are very well established, and so I feel like we could have another interesting matchup to look at. And then we have 13th seeded I Know beating out the 4th seeded Innuendo. And I think it's rather interesting that a song that's such low quality is easily trouncing songs that, well, aren't. But, well, I feel like that says a lot about the sort of ethereal quality and just general catchiness of I Know, even overlooking the quality issues. You want to talk about a huge upset, you want to look at I'd Rather Be a Rock Star beating out Light the Lanterns. And that again just shows the power of voting. And it's from what shocks me that we are seeing a 15 seed beat out a number 2 seed, but that is just the magic of March Madness. And so we're going to end up having a competition of a 13th seed I Know versus a 15 seed I'd Rather Be a Rock Star in the second round. Doing another review of those second round matchups to look at, I think the ones that are going to end up being the closest, if I were to speculate, are the 15th Poor Christmas versus the 7th seed Trip to Rio, both German songs, even though they are different stylistically, they're going up against each other, and I think that's going to be a very close matchup and one to keep your eyes on. And again, I really do think the 13th seed I Know versus the 15th seed I'd Rather Be a Rock Star, also another one to look at. They have a contingent of people voting for it that might sneak it one or two more rounds, and if that happens, well, it's anybody's guess. Now, a little bit of time for statistics for nerds. We had 32 entries, which I think is amazing, and I thank all 32 people who submitted brackets for this. Now, if you're familiar with the way that brackets work, they're a score based on your predictions, and that's on a round by round basis, and that's another matchup to keep your eyes on. Change based on what wins in the second round, third round, and fourth round. It's an overall points-based system. That being said, right now there are several call-outs to make. There being 3 near-perfect brackets belonging to Some Random Account, Lostwave TT, and Caden P08. But 1 perfect bracket belonging to Jack Torrance. Congratulations to you guys, and will you remain in those positions once round 2 is finished? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. Let me know what you think about some of these matchups and some of these results in the comments below. And speaking of predictions, looking at the songs that most people have winning the entire tournament, we have CIA in the lead by far, in 31% of brackets having CIA as their ultimate winner. And in second place, with pretty much half that, at 15.6%, is The Fallen King. I think that's pretty interesting, and I wanted to mention it here because, well, I think it's worth noting. So, which one of these matchups surprised you? Well, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, I'm First Distraction, and I'm now listening to. Are you coming home to stay? Or just like this one to God and me and say, are you coming home to stay?
conspiracies and a club CIA.